Chevron announced a $33 billion mega acquisition of Anadarko Petroleum last Friday. Matt, as we look back a week later, what's your reaction to that news?
My reaction's still pretty surprised. Chevron didn't need to do any deals, and yet here they are, shocking everybody with like the sixth biggest oil deal in history. So I was surprised by it, but the more I've looked into it, it's a really good deal for Chevron. It makes total sense. There's a lot of overlap, and plus it adds some things to them. So I really like it from their perspective.
Yeah, so when you talk about the assets that Chevron's adding, how does this acquisition kind of fit into their strategy, and how does that reshape their portfolio as they move forward as a business?
Yeah, so the big takeaway is this really bulks them up in the Permian Basin, which, as anyone who's talked about oil the last couple of years, that's like the big deal in energy these days. It's just loaded with oil and gas. So it makes them one of, if not the biggest drillers, landowners, producers in that region. So that was the big draw. However, it adds a couple of other shale plays. Anadarko is really big in what's called the DJ Basin, which is in Colorado. It's it's not as well known as some of the other ones, but a lot of oil and gas there. And then they've got some land in what's called the Powder River Basin, which is in Wyoming. It's kind of emerging play. Chesapeake Energy calls it the oil growth engine of the company. So it adds a lot of shale potential, but it also Gulf of Mexico. There's a lot of overlap. Big boost to Chevron in the Gulf of Mexico. And then the third one is LNG. Chevron has some LNG assets in Australia, and so they pick up Anadarko's project in Mozambique, which is world-class play, a lot of gas there. And so they're able to leverage what they did in Australia to kind of develop this place. So a lot of interesting parts with this deal.
Yeah, and when you have one of these big major oil players like Chevron getting in a deal like this, really exciting to see how things develop. Matt, is there any chance that we see some follow-on bids, related to this deal? I saw some news out that Occidental Petroleum had a deal out where they had bid, $70 a share. This Chevron deal is about $65 a share. Do you think there's any chance we see some follow-on competing bids here, or do you think this is a done deal?
I think this is a done deal. This does not make sense for Occidental Petroleum. I really don't know what they were into other than, it boosts them in the Permian, but they don't have anything in the Gulf of Mexico. They're not into LNG. So it really doesn't make as much sense strategically. However, a lot of the other pure play Permians, they make a lot of sense for not only Occidental, but a company like Shell, which really needs some boost in the Permian. Exxon, the Permian's huge for them. So I could see names like Contra Resources, Pioneer Natural Resource, Parsley Energy. I mean, there's just a huge list of independents out there that could easily be bought up by one of these major oil companies.
Yeah, definitely something to continue to watch. And, in an industry as shale that's been kind of the wild, wild west for a while, to see some consolidation and maturing of the industry, I think is something I'd like to see as an investor.